into chapter 7 for chapter 9 of Love Hypothesis. And so much more is happened in these last 2 chapters than it has happened in the previous last 3 chapters. And they're getting close so fast that it made me just giggle as fast as I can, so I can make a video and we can share our thoughts and premonitions of this book and future books. I read three chapters at a time so we can dive deeper and have intellectual conversations about what each of us got out of this book and future books. Because I love conversations about all books. If you're new here, hi, I'm Miss Hunterbell, and I'm reading Love Hypothesis for the very first time. And I wanted to bring you along for that journey. Because I wanted to make it more interactive. I wanted to connect with my community more, so I'm making it more interactive and that's another reason why we can read 3 at a time. Let's actually jump right into what happened in chapter 7 through chapter 9 of Love Hypothesis. There was so many encounters that I just loved. And first, right after where we left off last time, Olive is just going about her day, minding her own business, and all of a sudden there is one of her lab mates stormed into the lab and is all pissed because Adam had failed his paper. He's pissed because he thinks that his work is efficient and Adam's not, and so he is on his board with me. He can go no, go do the whole thing over again because it's not good enough, and that's exactly what he did. And so he's pissed that Adam did that, and he has to redo his whole pretty everything now. So of course he sees Olive, he's mad at Olive because he thinks they're dating. So they have a big fight, and this results Olive to text Adam for the very first time because he gave her his number in case they need to cancel something for their coffee dates. And so the very first text she ever sends Adam is, "Did you really fail Greg?" And he's like, "I can't discuss this, it's not ethical," so and so on. They have their own talk of their own about how, don't you know how people see you? They don't like you. And he he didn't care how people see him, he's just doing his job. And my job is to come out with results of great scientists and to advance the science field with great scientists, and not to do the opposite and push it back 100 years. Olive was like, you could have the same result, but just be nicer in your delivery. And he didn't like that criticism. So basically they had another little fight on top of they had about Greg, and basically ends up at the very end with all going "fork you," and that's where they left it until the next encounter, where they go to the picnic, which somehow not on campus, but it's a campus picnic, and Olive and all her friends drive in one car, and they get almost there, and then they get lost because for some reason they don't have a GPS. So they get lost, so they're over an hour late to said picnic. So it is very picked over. I didn't think that until I heard it, but I think it's very funny that they went to a picked over picnic. So they get there, they see there's no food. Then, all that's happening is that most of the faculty is playing frisbee, and most of the men are shirtless, including Adam. He didn't look anywhere near how good Adam looks. They all notice Adam, and Adam is playing frisbee, so he's ripped, and he's like, they're all like, oh my god, did he get shoulder implants? They have this whole thing. I think it's very funny, is all of them are freaking out on like, all of them going like ogling over her fake boyfriend, and how he's like ripped and has like broad shoulders, and they finally are like, go there and see if all the food is gone. It the best friend is like on all other friends that she came with, like, we all need sunscreen. We don't want to get melanoma. And all of them are like, no, I don't want sunscreen. No. And so finally, she just like forcibly puts this giant like glob of like, I imagine it being like this tall in. So she's like literally all like this, like trying to make sure it doesn't fall. And like, and she's like, what do I do with this? And her best friend's like, not my problem anymore. Why don't you go find somebody to put it on? You don't put it on yourself, put it on somebody else. And all her friends were like, I'm good. Finally, they're like, go put some on him. All like, no, I'm not doing that. And but of course, who happens to be nearby because the frisbee threw that way is Adam. And of course, best friend calls over Adam. He's like, hey, you got sunscreen on yet? And he goes, no. And finally she's like, just twists around and goes, has her pile of sunscreen. And he's much taller than her. He's always much taller than her. So he has to like duck down a fair amount for her to be like, and it takes up, he's so tall, it takes up the entire blob in her hands on his body. And of course, while she's doing this, and everybody's ogling at them, why they do this? She's like, at least we're putting on a good show for those people, so you don't think you're a flight risk and they believe that we're actually dating. And I'm sorry about the text messages and all of that mess. And he's like, it's okay, you're good. Station about how he would like her to send it like this Saturday, and she goes, well, of course, like perfect. And she's like, well, of course, perfect. That's great. Let's do it. And in her head, she's like, well, I got not getting sleep this week, and I'm gonna be bringing the laptop to the bathroom, and so that brings us to our next account. So, yeah. After the sunscreen debacle, where it was both funny and awkward at the same time, he goes back to his frisbee game, and that's the end of that encounter. And then later on that week, they ran into each other again in the break room, because Olive was working late and she thought the room was empty because it was dark and it was late. But she goes to the break room to go reward herself with some salt and vinegar chips, because that's just what she wants apparently. And she puts money in, but she didn't look where she put money in, and there are no salt and vinegar chips. So she gets a Twix, and she literally gets the Twix in her hand. She goes, I wish you were salt and vinegar chips. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, in darkness, just Adam, do you want the rest of my chips? And of course, she splats him with her freaking Twix, and like, is trying to defend herself because he can't out of nowhere. Have a very cute first genuine like talk, because once again, they don't know each other. They haven't talked really much since all this started. So this is really the first time, and it's so freaking cute. And I just want to slap the guy who ruined it. Finally, after 2 minutes, after having this really cute, genuine talk, another scientist that's friends with Olive walks in and goes, hey guys. And like, tells Olive to come with him. Like, she's gonna go back to her office, like, and like breaks up this really cute moment. So yeah. They go separate ways, but then during the talk, which was really cute, they had multiple things, like talks about how how old Alice was when she lost her mom, and why she's going to when she lost her mom, and how she never met her dad, and that pick that guy's specific lab. And there's so many places to like do research on cancer. Why did she pick that guy's lab? And she goes, well, he's the only one answered me, so I landed. And then she tells him like about her work for the guy, and why he totally fixed her problem. She's like, yeah, it's not doing this or that. And he goes, well, why don't you try this variable? And it was the exact variable she needed to fix. She sends off the package to the guy, and then he goes, once again, he thinks he's also dating Adam, so she like casually goes, hey, why don't you come over to Adam's house at like 8 in the morning tomorrow, and we'll like finish out the last details, and I'll give you an answer if I want you to come work my lab next year. And of course she texts Adam like, hey, he just invited me to your house, is that okay? And he's, of course, like, what time? And she tells him 9 in the morning. He goes, okay, great, see you then. So he offers to drive her. She says no. Her roommate drives her, and then let's go in. He came back from a run, so he goes to take a shower. She talks to the guy. She talks to the guy, and then he's still talking for 30 minutes, and he's still not gonna answer if he wants to take her on next year. And then he finally like, hey, do you want to get a ride at campus? I'm gonna go to campus anyway, so do you want to ride to campus? And she goes, sure, like, when I'm done. He goes, well, we're done. And he still doesn't give an answer. And she's literally walking out the door, and all of a sudden he goes, well, I'm gonna see you next year, right? I have the perfect, like, place for you in my lab. I'll see you next year at Harvard, right? And he goes, yeah, thank you so much. And of course, she keeps her composure until she goes outside and had it. So they get in the car, they go on the way back to campus, and she's like, we should celebrate. Am I going to Harvard next year? You're at Grant. Our fake dating is successful. Let's go get coffee. And then she's like, oh, also we can get our flu shots. And he's like, no, I don't do needles. And he's like, are you scared? Are you scared of little needle? And he's like, no, they're just gross. I don't do needles. So they have this whole little cute little banter, but when they get to campus, she does drag him to get the shot, and she has a really cute story about how they kind of softened up at her mom, how when she would get shots, her mom had to give her a big bear hug and buy ice cream beforehand, so she would have it the second she got the shot right after it, and it would make a big mess in her car, in her purse. So yes, to celebrate all of their successes, they went and got coffee, and then they got flu shots, and then they got coffee. But he bickered, and he tried to get out of it, but he didn't know who he was up against. Because he's a big, strong man. If he wanted to not go, he could have made himself an unmovable object. But he did not. Laugh, like, I go around when they're talking about the ugling of his body at the picnic. Because half the time, all of these happen because they're around all his friends. And they have to make nice and look like they're having couples. So they have all of these, like, awkward moments. Mostly because of all his friends are around. Because they all started all this because she wanted to make her friend think that she had died. So I just think it's very funny. It's like, it keeps happening because of all his friends. The car thing was the first time it didn't happen because of all his friends. So what do you think about the book so far? What do you think of these chapters and what's happened so far? And do you think that only chapter 9, but you have to give it up to Ali Hazelwood and give her her flowers. Because it is very well written. Very well written. Because I totally believe that these characters are out there in the world, and I haven't seen them fall in love yet completely, but I know they're going to, and I just can't wait to see it. With their careers and love story and everything. So between the scenes, the cute little adorable scenes from the break room and the car, I just kept giggling uncontrollably, and it was unaltered. I it happened. I scared myself. I was reading it, all of a sudden it's so freaking cute. I love that they have got the point where they can push those buttons. Then they have the cutest scene in the car. I just love it so much. Between the scene and are we starting to feel the chemistry between Olive and Adam yet? I don't know. Come on. Yes, we're definitely starting the chemistry. So what do you think? Do you think that there's chemistry between Olive and Adam? I sure do. Again, love the last 3 chapters. So I am off to read 10 for 12. So you